Hello Pitanger, Dr. Guys here, and today I wanted to make a little video to make a top 5 classes I would want to be added in the game as 4 stars. One thing I realized when playing IS-5 is that I actually really like 4 stars, but sometimes when picking a specific unit, for example Gummy, it feels like I don't have many options and I automatically default to a very specific unit. This made me realize that we actually lack a lot of 4 stars to fill some roles. So in this video, I'm gonna give you my top 5 classes I wish Hypergriff would add a 4-star representative of. Number 5. Ritualist Supporter and Primal Caster. These are the only 2 classes I'm gonna put together because they are usually supposed to be played together. Ritualist Supporter is the enabler of the Primal Caster. That doesn't mean that Virtuosa can't function as a standalone unit. It only means that she makes Nymph even better. The main issue with this logic is that Virtuosa only works with Nymph, the same way the future You only works with the future Blaze Altar, and I wish there were more options to this. I wish there was a 4-star Ritualist Supporter that would enable Nymph, or a 4-star Primal Caster that would benefit from having Virtuosa on your team. This way, for example, if I have Nymph, I could recruit a 4-star supporter and save my hope just to enable her as 3, or on the contrary, if I have Virtuosa and I want more damage but I don't have 6 hope, then I could recruit, for example, a 4-star Primal Caster. On top of that, IS-5 added a lot of relics that actually benefit from dealing elemental damage, so I wish Hypergriff would actually release operators that work more with this mechanic. Number 4. Trapmaster Specialist. One of my favorite relics in all IS is Empty Fall Beast. You know, this item that increases the damage from operators that can summon things as long as you have your summon on the field. This obviously works with traps, but something I realized when playing IS-5 is that we actually don't have a lot of 4 stars that can summon things. There's like Beanstalk, Deep Color, and honestly that's about it. There might be some I'm forgetting, but they shouldn't be that relevant. So I feel like having a cheap way to enable this, besides the 2 operators I mentioned, would be very interesting. So sure, I know in the specialist area you have Ethan, you have Jay, and in IS-5 you have Tin Man, so obviously it doesn't make sense that much, but for example for IS-6 I wish we had one. I always like Trapmaster Specialist, particularly in the early game where you don't have a lot of options, don't have a lot of operators, and want your operators to be very versatile, so I think a Trapmaster would fit exactly this. Not only that, it gives you an option to hit aerial enemies while still dealing high damage to ground enemies, and I really like this. Number 3. Fortress Defender. As I mentioned in the intro, the only 4-star defender I tend to pick is Gummy, because Gummy is extremely strong in IS-5. She heals, she deals actually quite a lot of damage, she has a stun that can, for example, interrupt the casters. The heal is extremely strong, particularly in the early game if you get the epoch that reduces your HP on deployment. Still, in some cases, you actually don't need healing that much because you already have, for example, Medicamia. And in this case, I would actually want more damage or more AoE, and that's where a Fortress Defender would actually be very useful. Also, it's an archetype that hasn't gotten any new operators in more than a year and a half, which is 2 years in CN, so all the more reasons to add one. Number 2. Agent Vanguard. When talking about dealing damage to aerial enemies for 4 stars, there's only one operator that can do that among Vanguards. It's Beanstalk. And I feel like Beanstalk is really good in IS-5. It's not necessarily because she can hit aerial enemies, it's just that 4 stars don't have a lot of variety in Vanguards. There's only Myrtle, that is a flag bearer, there's only Beanstalk that can summon her crab, and that's about it. All the other 4-star Vanguards are actually pretty similar. Vigna, Scavenger, and Courier actually only focus on generating DP while either dealing damage or tanking, which in my opinion is not enough. I wish there was an agent that is able to deal damage from the distance, to hit aerial enemies. This would give more option, for example, to hit the crystals, and would also be a good option if you want a pseudo fast redeploy operator. So yeah, I really wish we had a 4-star agent. And finally, number 1, Incantation Medic. Do you like Medicamia? Yeah, me too. Do you know what I would like even more than a Medicamia? A 4-star Medicamia. So obviously I know a 4-star Medicamia wouldn't be as good as the actual Medicamia. Still, when talking about 4-star medics, it's a shame that we have so many 4-star medics and yet the only things they do is healing. They don't do anything else. Perfumer heals, Susuro heals, Pure Stream heals, Chestnut heals. I know Perfumer heal globally, I know Chestnut heals elemental damage, but I feel like I want an option that is also able to deal some damage when I need to, particularly in the early game. And if this option is free, contrary to a Mia, then it's even better. So yeah, I wish we actually had a 4-star Incantation Medic. Usually in the early game you don't want healing that much, and you actually want someone that is also able to participate to the overall DPS of the team. And that's exactly what Incantation Medics do. Alright, so this was the list. Do you have any other idea about what 4 stars they could add in the game? If so, then feel free to tell me in the comments, leave a like, subscribe, and see you in the next video.